Welcome guys. In this video, we have introduced 4 great games that can make an amazing weekend for you. Although this year, due to the limitations of COVID-19 and the release of new generation consoles, and of course a number of other issues, we did not have many games, and most of the published titles were simple remasters of the old titles, but still the number of titles available in the year has increased so much that a gamer may not have the opportunity to experience them all and may lose some good titles. For this reason, we decided today to introduce a new item to your loved ones, which is how each week, 4 or 5 titles are introduced in different styles, and available for different platforms. Here I need to tell you a few points that we have when writing this video series. The first point is that in the videos of this series, from each platform, there will be a maximum of 1 exclusive game. For example, in a video that is going to be introduced in a total of 4 games, you will not encounter 3 exclusives of PlayStation or 3 exclusives from Microsoft. The most important principle for us is to cover all dear users in every strata, and we try to introduce an attractive game for all loved ones, regardless of any platform they have. The second point is that this video will include new and famous playmates in each of its series, relatively older and more unknown, and of course high quality, to cover a huge range of different games. The third point in our view is the variety of games in terms of the genre and style they have, so that in each video, you have at most just one first-person shooter game, a horror game, or you will see that all dear gamers of all tastes are taken into account. The bottom line is that at the end of the description of each game, I will tell you the time to finish it, so that you have a better choice for your weekend according to the time available to you. So friends, I've mentioned all the tips you needed to know before watching the video. If there's another thing you'd like to include in this video series, be sure to inform us in comments. Truly, for the many compliments I had heard of the PS5 version Ghost of Tsushima, with 60 frames on this console, I intended not to go to this game for now until I accessed Sony's 9th generation console and my first experience of the game remained intact. But I saw my decision for now far-fetched, and convinced myself with the same version of PS4. Of course, the contentment of what to say. I encountered one of the best and most beautiful and attractive titles of the whole game industry, and I just regret why I didn't come to this unique game and masterpiece sooner. The game appears amazing from its own primitive cutscenes and works with dialogues and attracts you to the characters you've dealt with. And that adds to the appeal of the game to us. The in-game world is so fascinating and varied in terms of atmospheric and visual, that you will enjoy every single moment you explore the game. Even the simplest sub-stages of the game and collectibles in the environment are literally enjoyable and fun because the creators have best portrayed the in-game world and have won the hearts of each game with their natural landscapes and autumnal trees, also with their extraordinary visual quality. According to the creators, the game has taken inspiration from the Assassin's Creed series. But as a multi-year-old Assassin's Creed fan, I have to say, the game's fighting system is far superior, more complete and enjoyable than 90% of the other free world titles, and indulges you in a sea of different samurai combat cams and techniques and styles. Recently, the direct cut version of this masterpiece has been released and is a good opportunity for people like me who have not yet come to this game to bring them together with a time between 35 and 60 hours of unparalleled and wonderful content, with a climate from ancient Japan to create an unforgettable memory and a unique experience in their minds. Machine Games Studio in 2014, with the launch of the game, brought franchise Wolfenstein into a new era and, after a relatively weak and failed version, again put the name of Wolfenstein on the tongues. If we want to rank the storytelling of the first-person shooter titles, after BioShock, Half-Life and the Modern Warfare Call of Duty series, certainly the top position is awarded to the same Wolfenstein New Order, and of course, the second version of this reboot series, which is also one of the best first-person shooter titles. After the unsuccessful release of the last version of this reboot, Wolfenstein Youngblood, for a few years now, there is no news of the new version of this popular franchise, but due to Microsoft buying this studio and being more open to implementing their ideas, introducing a new version of this series will not be far-fetched. Given that this year, Battlefield didn't have a fictional section, and Call of Duty didn't have a good story section either, it's good to take a look at the top titles of the 8th generation shooter, and one of the best titles to begin with is definitely the same franchise of Wolfenstein, which fortunately is a reboot, and except for a limited character, you won't need to refer to earlier versions to understand its story. The game is one of the best works of 2014 and, of course, the entire 8th generation in terms of character sound, its action gameplay, lasting story, music and summary in terms of all the elements necessary for a successful game. So roll up the sleeves and go along with William Belijevic with 12 hours of unparalleled and enjoyable gameplay and enjoy the adventure with him. Recently, the new version of Resident Evil's old franchise and history maker, The Village's extraordinary title, has been released and the glow and news surrounding the series is as hot and vivid as ever. Today, however, I want to point not to Village, a well-known title to gamers, but to one of the most underrated and forgotten titles in this series. A title that is neither too weak to come and say as bad as Resident Evil 6 is not so much a masterpiece and a change that because Resident Evil 4 and Remake 2, everywhere in the field of gaming, we hear their names. Although I haven't read or seen a reliable place, I've seen a lot of inspiration from the first edition of The Last of Us in this title from Resident Evil, which, of course, may have been a coincidence. For example, the addition of secrecy to this version, the deep father-daughter relationships in the whole story of the game, and even in its additional stages, and most importantly, more interestingly, the listening mode feature of this game, which seems familiar with the mechanisms and elements in the first version of The Last of Us. The game consists of 4 main episodes, along with 2 short episodes, of which 4 main episodes each have 2 parts with different and, of course, related characters. Like most versions of Resident Evil, the game features a very fascinating story that keeps you busy to the end and surprises you with a few unexpected tweaks. The characterization of this version is actually at a very high quality level, and you will also see the return of 2 of the most popular characters in the series, Claire Redfield and Barry Burton, in this version, alongside the presence of completely new characters. Visual quality, gameplay, riddles, sounding, whether it's the sound of characters or the existence of daunting and frightening sounds, are all at a very good level, and personally the biggest and only objection I can get to this title. AI is the enemies that really expected more from a horror survival title, except that the game is really of a very high quality and deserves much, much more than the Meta 73 it has received. The game also supports the coupe mode and you need about 11 hours to finish it. In recent years, Ubisoft has been recognized as one of the most hated gaming companies among users. Just check out the comments below the official page of YouTube on Instagram. But this infamous company today, in the not too distant past, in 2014, was nominated as the top company of the year at the Game Awards with all its merits. And he had presented some of the best games of 2014 in different styles, all of which were admired and praised. Today, there is talk about Child of Light, which was nominated for Best Music of the Year at the same Game Awards, which led me to go to the game. The whole game has one side, amazing music. It's also one side. The game tells the story of a young princess who has moved away from her home, and has to find her way to it anyway. The music of the game beautifully captures the princess's sense of inner loneliness, and you can't get tired of hearing them. The struggles of the game are in the style of turn fight, which of course has its own fans, but if you are even like me and you are not a fan of this style, it is still worth going to the game and not to be deprived of its soulful music. What you saw, God, maybe this game will interest you in a turn-by-turn fighting style. The game's artistic design is at a very high level, reminiscent of masterpieces like Ori and Gris, and it was for me. Of course, Ubisoft is not unlikely, because no matter how poorly it has done in the field of artificial intelligence and the technical quality of the games, it has always been unique in the music and artistic design of its games. And for example, I can point out to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, who had won the award for Best Artistic Design of the Year, and of course was fully qualified to receive it. The time it takes to finish this beautiful and artistic game is about 11 hours, but the time you spend surfing the game environment can vary slightly. Well, dear friends, today's video ended and we introduced 4 wonderful games in 4 different styles, serving your loved ones. Tell us your opinion about this video and its 4 games. And if there's something special you'd like to include in the next series, let us know. By the way, what game will you experience this weekend?